What's going on, everybody? Thanks for stopping by. You've got Ben, aka Sturkules, here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys the first top 5 list to my new channel, the top 5 items that I would love to see in the Pokemon world. Now, if you've been a Pokemon fan for a while, you know that in Generation 2, when items were first introduced, they were absolutely game-changing for the franchise. Items changed the way we use specific Pokemon, and they changed the way we play competitively. They even changed the way that we do a playthrough of a series. Each generation, we get new items, and it's one of the most exciting things to see what they're going to be. So today we're going to be looking at 5 items that would be awesome to see in the franchise that I think could revolutionize the game we play. Coming in at number 5, we've got the Mood Ring. If you grew up in the right era, you probably remember seeing mood rings everywhere you looked. The idea behind them was that the color they turned reflected the mood of the wearer. I thought of this item when thinking about the Moody ability. Pokemon such as Smeargle, Octillery, and even Bibarel have this ability, and it can be incredibly broken and annoying, so it's often banned in competitive metas. What happens is, at the end of each turn, a random stat on the Pokemon will sharply increase by 2 stages, and another random stat will decrease by 1 stage. After a while of these shenanigans, things can get pretty out of hand and very annoying for the opponent. So why introduce this to where just anything can have this ability by using this item? And that's easy. It's extremely entertaining as long as you're not on the receiving end of it. I do think I would change it a little bit to where the stat drop would be normal and the stat boost would just be one normal boost instead of sharply at the end of each turn. Think it could balance things out. I think it could still be a lot of fun to see what kind of luck you get, and if worst comes to worst, the item could be banned just like the ability. Coming in at number 4, we've got the Room Extender. Let's go for something a little bit less controversial. You've probably heard of an item with extender in its name before, being the Terrain Extender. This functions similarly to the Weather Rocks. These items extend the duration of terrain, rain, sun, sandstorm, or hail from 5 turns to 8 turns when the user holds one of these items. So that's where the Room Extender could come into play. I think it could function very similarly for moves like Trick Room, Magic Room, and Wonder Room from 5 turns to 8 turns when held by a Pokemon. Now, you're not going to see Wonder Room or Magic Room ran a whole lot, but you are going to see Trick Room ran a whole lot in competitive Pokemon and even sometimes in a normal playthrough. Now, what happens here is the speed of the Pokemon is essentially flip-flopped around. If a Pokemon is slow, it becomes fast in Trick Room. If a Pokemon's fast, it becomes slow in Trick Room. So like weather and terrain usage, there are certain Pokemon that make very good use of Trick Room to be able to make attempts at sweeping or seriously denting an opposing team. The problem is, by the time you get that Pokemon to set Trick Room and get switched into another Pokemon to take advantage of it, you're often finding yourself running out of turns to start doing some damage. This is why you see items such as Damp Rock or Terrain Extender ran, so that you can take your time, make smart switches, and get your targeted attacker in without having to make sloppy switches. I could see this potentially being an annoying item for doubles, where battles don't last as long and you've already got 2 teammates in, so that you can set Trick Room for a Pokemon on your team fairly easily. But I think it's time that Game Freak and Pokemon started focusing a little bit more on the singles meta and a little bit less on the doubles competitive meta, as most of us play singles because that's what we see in a playthrough. But hey, that's a different video altogether. Let's keep moving. Coming in at number 3, we've got the Charge Herb. Now, when hearing herb, your mind is probably already hopping to the items that are the White Herb and the Power Herb. If you don't know what these are, they're both consumable items that are one use only to be held by a Pokemon that are very good for adding some versatility. The White Herb is an item that restores a lowered stat during a battle, whether self-inflicted or whether the opponent has lowered your stats. The Power Herb is a move that allows for 2-turn moves such as Solar Beam or the new Meteor Beam to be used in 1 turn. So I see the Charge Herb as kind of an opposite to the Power Herb. Whereas the Power Herb allows a Pokemon to skip the first turn of charging to execute a move, the Charge Herb would work for moves that normally require Pokemon to recharge after using it, like Hyper Beam, Giga Impact, Rock Wrecker, or one of the special starter Elemental Hyper Beams. I'm sure we all remember slapping Hyper Beam onto our strongest Pokemon when we were younger, loving how powerful it was and how cool it looked. But the more you play, you realize that the turn needing to recharge afterwards often makes even the power not worth it because you're left vulnerable like a sitting duck. Not to mention that these moves were rarely ever seen in competitive use, and it would really shake things up for them to be ran with this item so that you could nuke a Pokemon with a 150 base power move and still be able to attack on the next turn without being left like a sitting duck. This item would be consumable like the other herb items, so it would only be used once in a battle. And I know, I've got Mega Blastoise on the screen. It should just be normal Blastoise because Mega Blastoise can't hold Charger because it has to hold a Mega Stone. I get it, but its animation looked really cool for this move, so I still went with it. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Riot Shield. So there are very few items that were as immediately impactful to Pokemon upon arrival as the Assault Vest was. Giving the Pokemon an immediate 50% increase to their special defense is welcome to almost any Pokemon, the drawback being only able to select damaging moves while wearing it. This is a great item for playthroughs as most members of a team won't be using many setup, support, or status moves in a playthrough. But in competitive Pokemon, it's even better because it's more impactful. Turning a Pokemon that normally lacks special defense into one that can sponge some hits is incredibly useful. Not to mention taking him on with great special defense to the next level of being an absolute special wall with very little needed investment. It's also a great to trick this item onto a Pokemon like Chansey or Toxapex that get shut down by having to select damaging moves. On the physically defensive side, though, Pokemon are not so lucky as there's currently not an opposite to this item, which is why I think the Riot Shield would be a great item to introduce into the series. You've probably played Call of Duty at some point and seen an opponent running at you with one of these shields and letting out a huge groan knowing how hard it was going to be to damage them. Many Pokemon would appreciate the same added defense, getting a 50% boost to their defense while only being able to use damaging moves. Now, Pokemon who take special hits well, like Primarina, but struggle to take physical hits, become even more difficult to prep for. Mons who take hits well on the physical side, but aren't exactly a wall like Berserker, need that extra added defense this item could add for them. Coming in at number 1, we've got the Chain Link. So lastly, this is the item I think that would be most fun to see. You've probably heard of the ability Skill Link before, and if you've seen it in action, you know just how devastating it can be. If you haven't, this ability allows for any multi-hit move like Icicle Spear, Rock Blast, Tail Slap, Pin Missile, etc. to hit the maximum number of times. Most of these moves can hit up to 5 times, meaning moves like Rock Blast, that is only 25 base power, is now doing 125 base power. With something like a Shell Smash Cloyster or a Choice Banded Cinccino, there are often not very many great switch-ins to a powerful Skill Link attack. In fact, many of these moves become more powerful than some of their most powerful moves of their typing that are commonly used. The problem I have is there are many Pokemon who get these Link moves, but they don't have the luck of having Skill Link to guarantee hitting the maximum number of times. And at this point, anyone who's listening is all feeling sorry for themselves, right? Because we're thinking about these Link moves and how our opponent always hits 4 to 5 times, and we're lucky if we ever hit more than twice, right? So, Chain Link would help out with this, giving them on the ability Skill Link for the attack moves. Something like a Mamoswine is now even more of a monster, hitting Icicle Spear 5 times and not having to worry about missing a 90% Icicle Crash. I could see this item going a few ways, being an item that can be held and working normally, where only one move can be clicked, like a Choice Band, or a Choice Scarf, or a Choice Specs. But then it would probably have to be called a Choice Link instead of the Chain Link, because a lot of Pokemon items have some sort of drawback. If it were just able to hold this item and have this basically Skill Link added to it without having any drawback, it might be too good. Another way you could make this happen is you could make the Chain Link a consumable item, meaning it could be used once to make a move hit 5 times, but then it would be consumed and would not be able to use again. Or maybe even if you did this, you could only click linking moves. Like if a Mamoswine knew Earthquake, Icicle Spear, Ice Shard, and Rock Blast, when holding the Chain Link, it would only be able to click Icicle Spear and Rock Blast, as they would be the only link moves. It would not be able to click Earthquake. This could go a few ways, but basically, I just think something like this that added a little versatility would be incredibly cool. But here, I want to hear what you guys think. Do you like my item selections? Are there any of these that you think are too broken? Are there any of these that you think are just bad enough and you wouldn't use them? Let's hear what you have to say. I would love to see them in the comments. What are some future items you would love to see in some future game installments? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe and like if you haven't. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, so please have yourselves a great day.